Hello everyone, thanks for watching Condensed Book YouTube channel. I'm here to help you read more books with less time. Today I want to recommend you this book called Spin Selling. I have made 5 videos on each important topic of this book. It is best to watch them from 1 to 5 so you can get the big picture. Before we get into anything technical, I want to ask 3 important questions today about closing. The first one is how important is closing and why so many people are fascinated about closing and how often you need to close. So if you have these questions just like I did and want to know the answers based on solid research, stay with me for the rest of the video. Let's go back to the first question. How important is closing? Before we talk about closing, I need to help you understand that there are 2 types of transactions. One is low value, one-off, no or less maintenance or relationship required. The other one is medium to high value, multiple engagements, and high maintenance in relationships or services. Before you get to learn all the sales knowledge, make sure you identify what category the products or services you're selling is in. What we discovered is that the traditional way of handling objections and closing techniques cease to work when the sales grow larger. There are more elements affecting the purchase decision making than just a price comparison. The psychology behind the purchase are far more complicated than just personal gain. Imagine if you're buying a laptop, the sales representative went through all the features with you and you're just not so sure if this is the right one. Do you want a MacBook Pro? Or do you want a Surface Book Pro? You don't know. Since there are other brands selling a similar laptop, while you are hesitating, the sales representative used the scarcity technique. If you missed out today, the discount won't happen again and he can give you 2-year warranty for free. I'm pretty sure 9 out of 10 you're sold on the spot since you just need a laptop. Imagine if you are making a decision for your company in upgrading an accounting software. Would you be sold by those techniques? Probably not. Because if you made a mistake, you're held responsible for this. So closing is important, but not as important as you think. So why so many people are fascinated about closing? The reason why people believe it is so important is because closing is directly rewarded by a contract or an order. You receive a dose of fulfillment plus monetary reward. Do you remember the movie Glengarry Glen Ross? The first prize is a car, the second prize is a set of steak knife, and the third prize is you are fired. When people working in a sales environment, their social status is closely related to how many deals and how big the deals they can close. The moment you don't get it, you put more pressure on yourself and your client. If you didn't end up with anything, you start to question yourself whether you're in the right profession or you've done something wrong with your closing technique. The last question I want to ask is how often you need to close. You might have heard J. Douglas Edwards say, "You haven't done your job if you quit without asking for the order at least 5 times." Have you also heard A, B, C always be closing? If you have been in the sales field for a while, you know most salespeople believe closing techniques are strongly related to success, and you should use as many different closing techniques as possible. You should trial close, you should get more yeses by using tie downs. So basically these techniques could be rehearsed and become a part of you, so you can use it more naturally at any time when there's an opportunity to close. So what exactly is closing? It is really just a behavior used by the seller which implies or invites a commitment. So the buyer's next statement accepts or denies the commitment. Put it in plain English, a close is anything that puts the customer in a position involving some kind of commitment. The author conducted the research to find out what exactly is the relationship between the number of a seller closes and the success rate. The result is actually quite surprising. A low close rate generates higher success rate. How is that possible? What we generally experience is that closing is a way of putting pressure on the customer. It works on the low value transactions that it will speed up the customer's decision making process. Because the customer don't care about a wrong decision, it is not a big deal if they made a mistake. Instead, they might appreciate your help in saving their time. But remember, when the size of the transaction gets bigger, there are a lot more psychological issues involved. First, the buyers care about how people judge their decision. If it is a corporate purchase, whoever makes the decision is held responsible to the shareholders. If it is a personal purchase, the buyers do not want to be looked at like a fool in front of their friends. Buyers also have a fear of entering into an ongoing relationship or a contract. It is because the fear of missing out other good opportunities and avoiding the penalties of breaching the contract. There's no reward whatsoever for a contractual relationship. If the transaction is getting bigger, it is inevitable that the seller are selling services with an ongoing relationship rather than just a product. So how often exactly you need to close for big deals? The research from the book indicates that only one close is enough. Any more closes just to mean that you have not getting the sales process right. The next video will go through the spin selling framework to show you how exactly the sales process would be for a high value deal. I can promise you that by the end of the 5th video, you will have a sales framework that you can use in everyday life. It will help you to establish relationships with your friends, family, and your customers, because people will always buy from someone they feel they're connected with. How good is that? If you like this video and wish to receive an update for part 2 next week, make sure you... Let me ask you a question. If we can shorten a book to a 5 minutes of video and pack it with real life experience, will you watch it? If your answer is yes, then stay with me for the rest of the video. This is part 2 of the book Spin Selling. We will focus on the art of questioning. I know the book has been published for many years and there are a lot of YouTube videos about this book, but today I'll bring you 3 tips which will help you succeed in real life with spin selling model. I have also prepared a gift for you. It is a list of all the useful questions you can use on your clients. Make sure you click subscribe button below and the list will be messaged to you. Now let me give you a snapshot of what spin selling is. SPIN is a sequence of how you ask client questions. You start with questions to collect information about client's situation and then probe around to see what problems they have. After that, you're starting to ask if those problems can lead to something that is much more serious. You then ask hypothetical questions to have your clients bring up all the benefits if those problems can be solved. It looks simple, but to close every deal with spin selling, you need to be an expert in 3 areas. So first, you need to understand the word needs. When you ask questions, you obviously are looking for client's needs. It can only be 3 situations: no need, implied needs, or explicit needs. The successful salesperson works on the explicit needs. They don't spend too much time building the urgency of implied needs, because the client will smell something wrong and back off quickly when you ask too many questions. But if there's only implied needs and no urgency in fulfilling these needs, then the questioning skills will help you double your revenue. But how do you know if the need is urgent or not? The tip is wait for the client to ask you solution questions, and then you can ask them back for their motivations. If it is urgent, they will tell you. So step 1, identify the needs first. It is not about what questions you ask, it's about what you focus on. The second key is emotion. People make buying decisions emotionally. That is 100%. There's no single transaction that is not influenced by the buyer's emotion. The reason why spin selling works is because it creates a hook to catch the buyer's emotion. You start by building a positive emotion for the buyer and then drag them down with the problem question, and then even lower with the implication question. But then suddenly you revive them and bring them back to the moment of satisfaction by giving these payoff question. So pay close attention to your client's emotions, capture their body language, and see if those questions are getting them uncomfortable. Once you are experienced in identifying their body language, you will soon know that what level you can bring them down to. The last key is to understand why you ask questions. You know there are only 2 types of questions, open-ended and closed-ended. Let me walk you through each stage to see how to use them. When you ask questions to explore situations, if you ask too many open-ended questions, the buyer will soon lose interest. What you need to do is to run the situation questions like a diagnosis. Ask close-ended questions to quickly locate the areas where the problems can be. Do you remember last time when you saw a doctor? How many questions did the doctor ask? And were these close-ended or open-ended questions? A close-ended question gives you much more authority than open-ended questions because you show that you know your stuff. You don't waste your customers' time on unrelated information. But when you get into the stage where you need to explore more problems, it is very useful to ask open-ended questions to discover motivations and drives. Remember, always get them to express their frustration. When you get to the implication question, use a combination of closed and open-ended questions. Closed-ended questions are designed to lead the customers and control the conversation. But open-ended questions are designed to open a channel for them to express their feelings and motivations. At the needs payoff stage, you need to get them to talk about the benefits. To use open-ended questions will help you to explore a little bit further. You open up the channel so the buyers can actually make decisions for themselves. These are the 3 tips or the 3 areas that you need to focus on when you're using spin selling framework. It's like a boxing. The knees is your opponent. You need to make sure it is visible enough for you to aim a punch. The emotions are your footwork. You go forward or backwards to draw your opponents in. You need to always pay attention to which foot your opponent stepped in, and then you can throw a punch. And your punches, yes, are your questions. Make sure you use a combination of punches so it is a guaranteed knockdown. In part 3, we'll talk about objection handling. So if you like this video and wish to learn something different, objection. Do you want to learn how to handle it and significantly improve your success rate? If your answer is yes, stay with me for the next 5 minutes. If you missed out part 1 and 2, make sure you click the link on the top right hand side so you can get the best out of the series. No matter how much value you have demonstrated, handling objections is an unavoidable step in the sales process. So it is important that we know how to handle it. The book Spin Selling didn't provide much information in the actual practice. It basically said if you demonstrate enough value, then there will be no objections. I totally agree. But in real life, that rarely happened, so I'm not so happy with that. After I read this book, Secrets of a Master Closer by Mike Kaplan, I had another level of understanding in handling objection. To make it easier for you in real life, I broke it down into 3 simple steps. Step 1. Identify if it is a genuine objection. If you get objections early in the conversation when you're using spin selling framework, most likely it is not a genuine objection. Don't waste my time. I'll never buy this. If the client rejected you before you even demonstrate your value, you can show your customer your agenda and tell your customer why you are here and continue with your conversation. It is important not to jump into the solution mode straight away. When it gets to the closing, 99% of the time the client will throw you some objection. What can you do? The rule is always in control of the conversation. But how? Ask questions. Make sure you check part 2, the art of questioning. You should question these objections. For example, if the client says it is too expensive, ask back, is it because you can't see the value or is it something else? Narrow it down to the real objection. It could be just a fear of trusting people. Once you locate the true objection, move on to the next step. Step 2, be prepared. Never walk into a room without knowing who you're dealing with. When clients throw you objections, it can only be that many. I need to ask my wife, my mom, my dog. I can't make any decisions right now. That's my rule of making decisions. I like your idea, but I need to think about it. Oh, I really don't want to rush into any decisions. Oh, I can't afford it. Oh, I like the product from your competitor. I wouldn't be bothered to spend money on that. Are you prepared when customers say something like that right after you tried your close? 90% of the objections can be eliminated by preparation. So let me give you these 3 golden rules throughout the conversation before you close. Number 1, find out who is the decision maker. Don't waste any time on the wrong person. Number 2, check clients' concepts or motivations before you dig yourself a hole. If they're not in a buying position and can't be converted, don't waste your time. Number 3, clients' trust supersedes everything. If you don't see trust has been built throughout the conversation, don't even close. Now, once you get all the golden rules ticked in the meeting, there can still be a few objections, but only a few. Now it comes to step 3. It is the old-fashioned way of handling objections. It's called isolate objection. We're going to do it differently with a genuine heart. So isolating objection is not setting a trap for the client, because they will easily smell the trick you're playing. Do it in a genuine way. I give you an example. Mr. Customer, I'm glad we spent the time to find out where the problem is. I spend my life to help my customers in similar situations like yourself. You say the price is too high for you to implement it. Is that right? That's fine. If we put the price away, is that the right solution for you? If the answer is yes, then you say, well, that's good to know. Don't jump into another closing right now. Ask, To help me understand where we can make the adjustment, can you tell me how exactly would the solution help you? Now the idea is to lead back to need payoff question to get the customer say the benefits out loud. Remember, you always need to leave some room for the pricing so you can negotiate a different pricing proposal. If the answer is no, what can we do? Tell me your answers in the comments below. I have a special gift prepared for you. So to sum up, what is the art of objection handling? It is a genuine art in helping people. You ask further questions to understand their situations. If it is not a closed deal, you will still have an advocate for your own business. You will be surprised to know that when your customer are telling their friends that you're not selling them anything, you are there to help. If you want to be a sales expert, make sure you watch part 1 to 3 before I give you the golden key in creating the value for the customer. All the videos build on top of each other to help you get better at your sales skills. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you do that, because part 5 next week will give you a blueprint to be the next Mr. Olympia in sales. Today's video is so important that I could spend a whole day talking about it. But hey, let's just cut it short and make the most out of it. Let me start by asking you this question. What is value? It is actually a perception of a product or service's worth. So what is worth? It is perceived benefits minus perceived costs. You see, if we just increase the benefits and reduce the costs, the value would be easily justified. That is exactly what people are doing in consumer product world. When you go to the supermarket, you're always trying to find out the cheapest price with the highest quality. But how does that work for an intangible product, such as a service or a digital product? The reason why it is so difficult to sell these conceptual products is because customers find it hard to justify the money spent on products with no physical forms. However, truth to be told, this is actually the biggest advantage for these products. Remember, in the definition, the word perceived. This is how we're going to make a difference. The spin selling model provides a framework for sales conversation, but to get practical, you need to read a lot of other books, put muscles on the skeleton. One very important area we need to explore is how we can influence the customer's perception. I went through a lot of books about human psychology. There are many solutions, but all answer with the same principle. That's what we call the golden key simulation. So what exactly is simulation? It is a skill to set a scene and invite the customer to walk into it and experience it. You, as the salesperson, is the tour guide, leading the customer through various experiences. This is the golden key in creating the benefits and eventually creating the value for the customer. I want to give you 3 ways to run a simulation so you can apply them in your real life. The first one is telling stories. There is nothing better than telling a story. It can be about you or about others. The key is you need to embed a language to invite your customer to participate in your journey. Ask questions like, imagine if that's you, how would that make you feel? These questions about feeling will carry the customers away from their objection-driven thinking and fall into your way of thinking. This is so powerful that nobody can resist. The second one is we call a perfect world. This can be a $10 million lotto scenario. So ask your customer, if the money is not an issue, what do they want their world to be, or the services to be, or the product to be? Then you shut up and wait for them to talk. The more, the better. Force them to be bold and think harder. The last is the customer's world. This is the most effective and targeted way for the customers to spell the benefits for you. Once you went through the spin selling framework and got the point you need to present your service, instead of going through boring presentation slides, you ask your customer, now you told me you have this and that kind of issues, and we found out that if these issues can't be resolved, they will soon turn into bigger problems. So just imagine, if we got these problems removed today, what needs to be done? And how would that help you in managing team, the efficiency, or whatever you mentioned previously? When you start to use these 3 golden keys, you'll realize that your customers will find you are so different to other sales representatives. It is really because you're getting into a deeper level of the customer's mind, where emotions can be easily triggered. That, my friend, is exactly what you want to have in every conversation. I want to give you 3 other tips in creating the perceived value for customers. Tip 1, benefits are personal. Doesn't matter if it is a corporate purchase or a group deal, it is always personal to the decision maker. Find out how important it is for them to make a right choice will definitely help you create a personalized simulation. Tip 2. Perceived cost can be reframed. Remember, in the supermarket, it is always $9.99. In your head, you always remember it as $9 or something. Tip 3. Position, position, position. These 3 positions are actually in 3 distinctive areas. How to position yourself, how to position your product, and how to position your cost. Make sure you follow the right order. Never position cost before you position yourself or your product. I hope this video covered enough great ideas about creating value for customers and successfully close the sale. To help me improve the... Hello everyone, finally we get to the last part of spin selling, the blueprint of a sales champion. I want to take this opportunity to thank my mentors and my friends who helped me and supported me for this special journey. I asked for feedbacks and advice to improve the quality of the content and the method of delivery, so to make sure the video is worth your precious time. Today's video is not just focusing on one book, spin selling. Instead, it focuses on a ton of other books to help me structure this topic. So if you like the whole series in sales, make sure you share this playlist on the top right hand side and check out the other videos in Condensed Book YouTube channel. So part 5 of spin selling is inspired by the legend Arnold Schwarzenegger. He himself has achieved a lot more than anyone could have imagined. The greatest thing is he has a blueprint for others to become legends just like him. I borrowed the same concept to present you the blueprint for reading through the books by those top sales legends. So now let's get started. First, a sales champion is forged by a few different elements, and the blueprint is designed for you to acquire these elements and put them together. The first element is your mindset. This is the core of everything. When we talk about mindset, it can be further broken down into 3 mechanical parts: interest, purpose, and hope. The way it works is like this. You have a hope to believe sales is a learnable skill, that if you follow the blueprint, you become a sales champion. You also understand that hope is so fragile that it has to be reinforced by your purpose, and your interest is how you can consistently be knocked down and get back up again. Failure to you is just an unavoidable path to success. The second element is your knowledge. This is where you need to get back to the basics once in a while. The knowledge can also be broken down into further subjects. We generally identified 5 mandatory subjects you need to master: listening, questioning, positioning and reframing, basic human psychology, and the last is your own technical knowledge. You can gain this knowledge by reading books, having a mentor, and watching my YouTube channel. The third element is your action. Let me be honest, the quality can only be changed when the quantity reaches a certain level. There is no easy way out. The tipping point can happen once you have devoted enough time to put knowledge in practice. The spin selling book provides 4 golden rules. Number 1, practice only one behavior at a time. 2, try the new behavior at least 3 times. 3, quantity before quality. 4, practice in safe situations. These 4 rules helped me a lot in improving my skills. For example, if you want to practice listening skills, make sure you dedicate your focus and energy on a specific behavior. Once it has become a habit, then you can move on to the next one. The last element is your reflection. This is often what missed from our daily activities. I have 3 useful tips for you. 1. Use a recording device to record your conversation and replay 3 times to find out where you can refine your skills. But make sure you get your customer's consent first. The second tip is use a journal to record your insights before you go to sleep. The third one is practice with your closest friend and ask for feedbacks. Do role plays. Your friends are generally more comfortable to give you some harsh critiques. So with all 4 elements putting together, you need a little bit of a planning to incorporate all the elements into your everyday work. And then your success is just around the corner. To reward you for your ongoing support, I have designed a 30-day plan for you. It is like an exercise routine. If you're committed to improve your sales skills, it'll boost your sales performance